Hi. For many of you who have been reading my blog for a while, you know that there are several things that I keep saying over and over again about how to use CMMI. However, this perhaps may be the most important blog post I've yet to make, because this, in very short order, is perhaps the most challenging reality of CMMI. And this isn't just true of whether you're using CMMI in an agile setting, because it's also true about using CMMI in a more traditional setting. In fact, it's about CMMI, and it's not about the setting in which CMMI is being used. It's a very fundamental aspect of CMMI that goes beyond merely that the CMMI's practices themselves are not processes, they're not procedures, they're not requirements for how to do your work. In fact, it goes beyond the fact that the CMMI practices are even a what. I've said several times that the practices in CMMI are what to improve and not how. That's universal. Anyone who's taken any CMMI courses has heard that over and over again. And if they've worked with a competent appraiser or consultant, they've heard it over and over again. The practices are not processes, and they're not the how, they're the what. But more importantly, it's the what they are that has yet to be very well defined. So I'm about to define it for you, and this you can take to the bank. Every CMMI practice avoids a risk. You've heard me say that before. If your organization avoids that risk, chances are pretty strong that you're avoiding the risk by doing the practice, and that there are evidence that you are doing the practice. But it's one step further than that. If your organization is having an issue with a particular process area, you're seeing that issue in your business, in some aspect of what you deliver, in some aspect of your performance, and that issue happens to be related to a process that a process area covers, then look through those process areas' practices. Find the practices that are probably the cause, or at least the source, of, if you were to improve those practices, your business performance would show up improved. For the practices where you're not having problems, then we go back to those practices are being covered in some way. Perhaps not an obvious way, perhaps not a traditional way, perhaps maybe not an institutionalized way, completely the way you'd like it to be institutionalized. But the practice is being covered. So the practices in the model are to guide you to where to look for, find, and eradicate business problems. And then the practices that you don't have any issue with are merely practices that you are already doing. Somehow you've mitigated those risks, or avoided those risks, or absorbed those risks in a way that you can consistently count on because you're not having problems in them. So use the practices as a guide to finding where you have issues. And for every practice where you're not having any problems, just have someone help you find how it is, because sometimes it takes someone that doesn't work in your group to figure it out for you, because you're obviously avoiding the risk that the practice avoids. You're not having a problem there. Find someone to help you figure out how it is that you're avoiding that particular risk, and then move on. The practice is covered. Only deal with the practices that you have problems with that would cause you to change how you work. The rest of the practices should not cause you to change how you work. Only the ones that you're having issues with. And of course, what we hope is that you're changing how you work for the better, because those are the practices that you've got issues with. Where there are no issues, don't use the practices to make you change anything. That's the message. Hope it helps. Good luck.